The 24th?
No, December 22nd.
Oh, the 22nd. Nice.
I still got.
Oh, it is
present.
up. It's up.
Oh, what's up? Are we live?
Yeah. We got a commercial for.
Oh.
What is this? Should Ben Schwartz put J.E. on his fantasy team? By Courtyard Hotels.
Oh.
I have a commercial for the Google Pixel 2.
I'm going to skip that ad. Oh, and we got... how do you pronounce that, you would think, Leila? Corrosive? Corrosive?
Corrosive. Corrosive.
And Dre, hi guys.
We're so great at pronouncing the names.
We're the best. We are the best. Oh, I think you did good. The woman got it right.
The woman.
The woman got it right. Way to go. At least they call you the girl.
That's because I take a minute to actually read it before I try to pronounce it, John.
Or it was just a lucky guess, Leila.
Wow, John. Maybe I know how to read.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Dre, is the show going on tonight? Women rule. Okay, now you're just trying to score points there.
And I'm okay with this.
I was going to call him Core. And that's how you always do it, right? Just down to the first 3 or 4 syllables, like Dre and Core.
Core the Barbarian.
Yeah.
God, that makes me miss Conan Exiles. I loved that game, John. Can't play it, though.
Why?
Remember the whole thing with my computer being all...
but it might, because you got the new video card.
No, it has nothing to do with the video card. I'd have to reinstall my OS.
Oh.
Well, of course, you haven't let it try to update and try to play it recently. Maybe they patched it or something. You should give it a try sometime.
Yeah.
Just let it update and see if it wants to work.
My heart hasn't healed fully yet to be ready for that.
True.
It's...
Yeah, because, we built our base on top of that spider nest that one time.
It's probably all gone.
Oh, well, yeah. That's, yeah. But,
all the work for my temple.
I know! We didn't even get to finish your temple.
Yeah, we had that great horn. Don't forget our slaves, our awesome slaves.
Yep, and our dancers, gave us restorative abilities. It was weird. It was an awesome game. I loved it.
That's right, Conan Exiles, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what this show is all about.
Join us next week as we talk about getting iron. What a pain in the butt that is. See, we do have 11 followers, Leila. I knew I heard a noise.
All right, so should we wait a little bit longer, or should we
just give it a few seconds, because folks coming home with stuff. Is Joey coming in?
Yeah, eventually. Apparently he got like an hour of sleep last night, but it wasn't his computer, so don't take it away from him.
Oh yeah, no.
I was like, okay, whatever.
I just found out a weird command. And that
What's
if you hold down Control and move the mouse wheel, your character's head will turn upward. Downward.
Hey. Get.
If you hold Control?
Yes.
Again, I told you not to embarrass me in front of Vlad.
Watch my screen.
Mine doesn't do anything.
Go.
That.
No, mine doesn't do that.
What?
How come yours does that?
I don't know.
That's pretty cool, though.
I've noticed on your screen, though, that my character doesn't actually move, so the guys that are watching right now probably have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, maybe they don't have any idea what we're talking about anyway, most of the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, like John, for example, has no idea.
I have no idea what happened.
Yep. It's okay.
What happened?
I just discovered something new on WoW that possibly only I know.
Okay.
Or I can do.
You know,
Possibly only I know.
Or I can possibly only I can do.
or that people can just look back on the VOD and say, "Oh, look, that's what he did."
Well, no, that's the thing. I looked over at Leila's screen to test it, and it doesn't show. Like, I don't know. Whatever.
All right. So, well, should we give it just a couple more minutes here?
Let's ask the guys that are waiting.
Is this where we're starting from, or were we going to start down in the harbor?
Like, no, we'll start from here.
Oh, look.
Oh, hey, Craw.
Hey, Craw. How are you? It's not the boy, it's your boy.
God, John, you're so white.
Koro.
Koro.
All right.
All right.
Can you handle that one, John? Koro?
Wow. Wow, Leila. You know, I am well known for my inability to pronounce names. So. But yes, Koro I could handle.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Them rogue tricks.
Oh, God. Your breath smells.
All right, Coral. Well, we're going to get ready to start here in just a second. Master McAwesome. And Hottie.
I'm okay with this.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll start here.
Most assuredly.
Oh, that's right. You've got the Gilnean accent, right?
Yep. I think we should start in the harbor. That's just me. Because if we're walking over to the tavern, like, that's not going to be that far.
May the great wolf spirit guide you.
Sure, why not?
Okay. Oh, I was gonna ride shotgun with Vlad, but
Can't. That space is taken up by my arrows.
oh, lots of arrows.
No, but that was just being polite and saying I don't want you on my goddamn mountain.
Oh, I see. I like Leila.
He doesn't even let me ride it, John.
Oh wow.
You ride something differently. Different, rather.
Okay. This.
Oh, there's Karansiv. There you go. It's a human knight.
Okay.
That transmog looks nice.
Yeah. I like that shield.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
the one for the Warcraft movie thing.
Uh-huh.
That looks good. Well, sir, we. Wow, I like that
We'd
dragon.
love to watch your mogs, but we got a show to do.
Yeah, we got a show to do, sir. So maybe after the show.
Yeah, find us at the end.
Yeah,
and then
we'll be happy to see him at that point.
Yeah.
And speaking of the show, I guess we should start. Let's get the theme
hurrah.
music going. Here we go.
All right. Well, tonight we'll be talking about Mary Sue's Godmodding and drama. Oh my, that's our.
Oh my.
Oh my,
we should
that's right.
we should thumbnail what's called George Takei on that. But anyway.
Well, I think he's got that as a trademark.
It's okay to be Takei.
Now, And so tonight, starring, again, welcome back for the role play. I'm Turwinkle, the gnome
I'm
mage.
Vlad.
The gnome mage.
And
Apparently the dark and edgy Vlad.
yeah.
And I'm just Leila.
Hottie Bobati.
Oh God, John. Wasn't that a song?
Yeah, fee
I
fi
don't
fo
know.
fotty. I don't.
Oh God, John, please just stop. Okay.
Wow, we're already in the cacaws.
That's right.
Let's go.
So tonight we're talking about things to avoid in your role play, Vlad.
Right. Role-playing is a storytelling art that has a wide variety of accepted styles. However, there are a few methods that are generally looked down upon and considered bad form. Today we'll be going through the methods and character constructs to avoid creating or role-playing with. And Mary Sue's would be one of those constructs.
Wow, sir. I'm sure she tries as hard as she can.
Listen, the problem is that she doesn't.
Yeah. Things about Mary Sue. If you don't know what they are, I'm pretty sure everyone knows
first of all,
so far.
can we define what Mary Sue is? Because there might be a person out there named Mary Sue who might get very upset right now.
No, that's no. A lot of people know what Mary Sues are, but if you don't, Mary Sues are usually characters that are the epitome of perfection, and they're the most special of special from Special Town. And
I've been there once.
Everyone's made a Mary Sue, though. I think it's just it's something that they do. They usually emulate a character in the lore or something really cool, in another universe or something like that. So it's that's essentially what a Mary Sue is.
So hold on. So it is for us laymen, sir. For us casuals. A Mary Sue then is somebody who doesn't have any flaws.
Yes, they're perfect. They are without any flaws. They are the best, forever the best, and you can't tell them otherwise.
No.
And another thing is that wouldn't be so bad but for the fact that they kind of make it everyone's business to know. They're the kind of role player that makes the role play story all about their character, not about just the story between your characters.
Oh. Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way you make your character like a special snowflake that it is just intolerable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going outside the box, but there's
a difference between outside the box and being a Mary Sue, though.
Right.
Well, what do you mean, Leila?
Well, I mean, you can have a character that's outside of the box. You can have a character that you've actually spent a lot of time and put creative effort in, and they have flaws and, bad habits and things like that. And maybe they're not the greatest ever at everything and things. I mean, that doesn't necessarily, just because you're outside of the box doesn't mean you're already a Mary Sue type character. There are plenty of outside of the box characters that are amazing characters because people have really put a lot of depth and detail into establishing the character and ensuring that they are a legitimate good character that people would want to engage and role play with. Whereas a Mary Sue, honestly, I don't necessarily see a Mary Sue as being outside the box. They are very much, they want to be the box. So they, will make these characters, as Vlad was saying, that often emulate another character, maybe a character that's in lore or maybe a character from another, another book or universe or movie or what have you, that they're just so super amazing that, they don't really fit in well with role playing in the general population. I will say that it isn't so much that there's a problem with Mary Sue characters in the respect that if you want to make that for yourself, by all means. If you want to have a character that's strictly for you and they are super amazing and they are a dragon and they are just everything for you to enjoy their character and that, so there's just absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think what we're talking about today, as we, touched upon last week, is we're trying to, bring forth the situations where, because you've created a character that is a Mary Sue, you may have a difficult time interacting with the general population of role players, or you may have a difficult time finding role play as a result of creating a character this way. It's not that it's bad for you necessarily. You may thoroughly enjoy it, but trying to get that character involved in other people, with other role play or in a role playing guild or things like that, is generally not going to work out in your favor, and you're probably going to be met with some heavy resistance from people that are like, you know what, you got a Mary Sue character, and they just don't want to. You need to not.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess the thing with that is, why would you want to make a Mary Sue character? There's nothing to overcome, or if you're already perfect, then what's the point? For me, what experience can be gained by just being, oh, well, I can block every blow, and I am an almighty god, and you are my peons, so worship me.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, I mean, if you want to make that for yourself, if this is just a character that you want to, maybe you don't participate in a lot of role play with other individuals, maybe logging into World of Warcraft and having a character just for yourself to enjoy while you go and do world quests, or just questing and leveling and that sort of thing, is just something to have in the back of your mind that you enjoy doing. I'm certain there are a lot of players that are like that. And in that case, there's certainly nothing wrong with that character being whatever you want him to be, because that's, for your own enjoyment. But yeah, generally interacting with another person, that's where you're going to have to start, where you're going to have a lot of problems with these types of characters.
There's one thing that I wanted to point out, that sometimes you can actually interact with another player in that manner, as a Mary Sue, if they wish to be a supporting character in your story. Again, they're very centralized people about their role play, so that would make sense. Although, again, I don't know if it would be satisfactory for most people. From my understanding of the RP community's outlook on role play, Mary Sue's, I should say, they are generally looked down upon because of that, egocentrism, whatever the hell that word is.
Well, yeah, and I think that's really the main part of it, though, isn't it? It's someone's ego getting in the way of their own story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like what I said before with separating out of character from in character, in that they aren't able to do that, and so they put themselves into this character. Even though it has the traits of another character in a universe, they'll still put their own personality into this character, and then therefore they'll become that character, like they are that. So whatever insult or slight is put against them, or the idea of their pride being damaged, will actually, will damage the role player, not the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's typically with Mary Sue's, that's what happened. And also beginning role players that are starting to understand that's kind of how role play should be. It's like your character has those feelings, not you.
I think it's
go ahead, Leila.
I was just going to say, I think it's important too to make note of the fact that just because you may be proficient, or your character, maybe you are the best lock picker, or you think you're the best lock picker around, that doesn't make you a Mary Sue. Because you may be proficient at one specific thing, maybe you can say, you're the best lock picker around as far as you're concerned. Those types of ideas don't necessarily make you a Mary Sue, but it's when you start to compile, you are the best at everything, there is nothing wrong, that's when you start to grow into the Mary Sue persona. It's not just that you want to make your character very proficient at one thing, like you want to work towards being the best, yeah, it can't even come out. Yeah. Yeah.
But
best no mage.
Oh yeah.
With a red beard.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go too far, sir. I mean, I am the best no mage.
That beard's fake,
sir. Oh, sir, how do you know?
Just saying it is.
It's not fake, sir.
See it a mile
But
away.
yeah, I have to agree. And again, if you're the best at everything, then why are you here? You know, where's the growth in a character that's already the best at everything? There is no growth. You have nowhere to go. You're already at the top. And so where's the drama? Where's the conflict, Leila?
Well, not only that, but you also have no need for anyone else. You're not
I mean,
in a
Vlad
position
says
to
he
be.
doesn't need anyone else.
Well, that's different though.
Oh.
But you get in a place where you have no position to, have growth and development from the involvement of another person in your story. So not only are you, restricting a lot of yourself as you have no growth as an individual, but you limit yourself in the growth potential of having other individuals interact and influence your character and its direction and its knowledge and that sort of thing. If you just, close off all of these walls in terms of just being, the best around, then,
Or even the most connected.
The best around. Never gonna
No.
Adrian.
Caca.
Okay, caca.
It's probably why they also have important characters in the lore involved with their character. That's a trademark of Mary Sue's. I am the son of Arthas, or whatever, and they want to run with that story idea.
I am. He didn't want to,
kindly suck start
Anduin.
John.
Well, Anduin, he. I was in the keep there over there. And,
Yeah.
And Anduin
Where's
one
this
night
going?
Anduin one night took me from my cradle and
Oh my
secreted
God.
me away. And
God,
so
what did he do to you?
he secreted me away. He didn't do anything. Then he floated me down the river, and ended up adopted by a nice goblin family. And,
Was this the same family that produced Zorts?
we're not going to talk about that because that's a whole other story for another day. But I do digress, sir. Perhaps we should mosey and while you talk about.
Let's discuss
more
this
characters.
further while we walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
No, we're gonna. So
Anyway,
characters and lore, sir.
characters and lore. The big thing that they do is they have these intrinsic, deep, interpersonal, other big words involved with this with this lore character. When it's that's just I don't know, that's nauseating. And it's the big thing with it is, especially if you follow the lore with role playing, you're kind of in Blizzard's sandbox, and you don't get to write their story unless they tell you. Unless Chris Metzen blesses you with his sword or whatever.
Oh well.
And
yeah.
that you-
Wouldn't we all
Again.
love that?
Oh my God!
Well, again, at
that'd make my
BlizzCon,
day.
I didn't film it, but
I was 20 feet away from him once.
Hey, Tark and I got to
But-
talk to him, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Anyway.
But anyway, but it's okay to it's not Mary Sue to have been around a lore character. If you were part of the Argent Crusade and you were in Icecrown when Tyrion Fordring was fighting, that's perfectly reasonable. I mean, and your character could have definitely been on the same battlefield, even taken an order from him, but he didn't know you, or he didn't train you himself or anything like that.
Well, sir, hold on now.
No, we're not going to start another story.
Well, no. What I was going to say was, well, how do you correlate that with doing the quests and stuff, where Blizzard is trying to make you feel like you're the hero of the game?
See, that's where they kind of, for me, I guess you can pick and choose those kind of quests. It's just in bad taste to make you the hero of everything.
Here's something that I've always believed to be true for World of Warcraft in terms of role playing. You have to keep in mind as the player that there is a certain percentage of things that go on in World of Warcraft because it is a video game. There are a lot of things that you necessarily can't take to be. There's somebody dying in the street up here.
Oh God!
Best not get involved.
Yeah, just we'll just walk over here. Good luck.
Step on the
Look,
body.
she's got it all under control.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, it's something you have to keep in mind that it is a video game first and foremost. And unfortunately, I think that that's something that oftentimes role players tend to, it kind of falls by the wayside. You have to keep in mind that honestly, role players are probably a smaller percentage of individuals who play this game. If you look at the population of the PvE and PvP servers versus the population of the RP servers, you'll understand why Blizzard does the things that they do in terms of the game, as opposed to things specifically meant for role players. And I think that, things such as questing and whatnot are definitely things that you can be very creative about. You can sit there and go, okay, I really like this quest. I really like this story. What can I do to where my character could be involved with this, but I'm not directly, influenced by major lore characters, or I'm not the one that's, killed Deathwing and things like that. But you can definitely take a creative stand on trying to figure out where exactly your character would be, how they would be involved in that storyline, where, they would have been at that time. But yeah, I think that's, first of all, you got to remember that it's a video game and you can't take everything that, a good example too would be, I remember, I don't know if this quest still exists, but I remember it being a discussion, myself being big into Druid roleplay, was that there was a quest in Stone Talon Mountains for the Horde where, you had to go and basically kill off all of these animals in this one area. And, you kind of would go like, well, obviously you as a druid are probably not just going to go and slaughter all of these animals, for no real reason. And so there's things like that you do have to, you either ignore them outright. That is not something that your character did. That's just simply a quest that you had to do while leveling in a video game. Or you find a way around it that, maybe your character was presented with this idea and, they were appalled by it and they didn't want anything to do with it, and dogs and lots of dogs.
1 second.
Pause for John.
Pause for dogs. Are we
Pause.
Good? Are we good? Knock it off. Good Lord. Good Lord.
That was a good way of putting it. Much better than I could. I was just like, it's just in bad taste.
That's going to be the thing.
And
pause
also,
for dogs.
Yeah.
Pause for dogs.
That's it.
And also, hi, Sencha.
That's going to be,
arrived.
John,
right.
when we become super internet famous, that's going to be our fundraiser, is Pause for Dogs.
That's it.
And it's going to be some kind of for the Humane Society or something. Yeah.
Just wanted to say
I
hi
had
to
no
Sencha.
idea. Oh, yeah. Hi, Sencha.
Yes, you guys were being rude.
I said
Yeah,
hi
Leila
to her
said
when
hi.
she came in.
Okay.
I acknowledged her. I always acknowledge Sencha.
So I do apologize,
She's wonderful.
Leila.
Yeah, whatever, John. I'm over it. No,
Yeah.
but just be creative about what you can involve in your story.
Let's go up here.
Through
Let's go
that.
up here.
This little gnome's checking out John at the moment
Oh, yeah. Let's do the bit.
with Mr. Bitey.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
oh,
Lola.
Mr. Bitey.
It's Lola.
Oh, Lola Pop. Yeah.
Lola Pop.
She's
Lola Poppins Bradshaw.
Oh, and Mr. Bitey.
And Mr. Bitey.
I
Yeah.
like that, Mr. Bitey. Oh, they waved at me. That's nice. Oh, let me get. Don't look at the chat there. ERPing in the cemetery, I guess.
gross.
Yuck. Is that a form of necromancy?
What,
Necromancy?
role-playing in a cemetery?
dun, 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 dun. ERPing in the cemetery.
Oh, well.
Necromancy. Get it? Romancy. Oh.
Oh my god. Cock!
All right, so, and Cogspring's here. Hi, Cogspring.
Hi, Cogspring.
Hey, Cogspring.
Hey. So,
To get into your question, I know you sent us a question, Cogspring. We'll get to it later tonight.
so,
after
saying that you're Uther's nephew, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Be hard to prove, because did Uther have a sister? I mean, it turns from one thing into a whole different can of worms, doesn't it?
And the thing is, a lot of people will actually take advantage of the... Oh, we got a role player. A lot of people will take advantage of the gray areas in a lore character's story.
We're watching. Hold on, sir. He's going to show us something.
He's probably going to kill himself.
Oh, jeez.
Here we go.
Oh, look at my God, he's gliding.
He's
my goodness.
Oh, wow. That's not new, is it?
That's so unique and different, and oh my God, I don't care.
I think he died, sir.
Good.
But, okay, so continue.
There are a lot of great, people, role players will take advantage of gray areas in a lore character's story, and they'll justify, well, during this time, it's not necessarily said. It's like what he's doing. So yeah, it's possible that he could have took on an apprentice, or things like that are just like, you really shouldn't. Like, you don't. It just comes down to, you don't have the right. You're in Blizzard's sandbox, but you don't touch their toys. That's like that. That's the thing. Essentially, with the logic that I'm going with is, you just do your own thing. Try not to involve them that much. Well, obviously, if it makes sense for your character.
Now, let me ask you, though. If say, for instance, right now, we're in the current timeline of where Blizzard's at, and we're role-playing along. Now, of course, I haven't, as Turwinkle, because I'm only level 70, haven't seen King Varian die, but in this current timeline, of course, everybody knows he's dead. So my role-play would not consist of where I'm at in my timeline as far as the quests are concerned, but they're in the timeline of where we're at now as far as the expansion and stuff. I mean, that would explain that, the big ball in the sky.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think if you are participating in general open roleplay, there is a certain amount of continuity that you need to stick with. Everybody, and I do believe that through the server forums and, through people asking in general and whatnot, people do try and make certain...
Jeez, rude.
He's just doing his job, John.
Yeah, he didn't have to run me down, though.
Well, he wanted to see about what happened to that guy that jumped off this ledge. We got reports that somebody flew off this ledge a minute ago. We're going to check this out.
Yeah, we did see it, sir. It was pretty horrific.
See,
he told us to watch him.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Sir, we tried to help him.
You're not man enough to be a patroller. Get out of my sight.
Vlad rips his sword away. He goes running off.
YOLO.
Wow. That worked out perfect. That was hilarious.
Okay, we're all just going to move over here then.
We're going to have to clip that. If somebody wants to clip that, that'd be great.
Okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so when you're participating in an open, where you're involving, the server, it's just open in general, you need to stick with a certain continuity. And like I said, through the server forums or through just people asking in general, you oftentimes see, okay, are we acknowledging Varian Rin's death yet? Are we acknowledging the death of Deathwing? When those sorts of major things play out, that's often everyone needs to kind of get on the same page about. These are things that have happened. If you are somebody that is such as you are, wanting to stick with what your character knows through your questing, if you've not experienced that, then oftentimes I have seen people flag with their MRP or their TRP3 and flag themselves as non-canonical, which means that they are not participating in the current storyline, be it I've seen people that have RP'd future, like maybe these are characters that they had in this timeline and they're wanting to RP the children of those characters, something like that, where they are not canonical to what is going on in the timeline, the official timeline at that present point in time. It would also go for people that want to roleplay as like you're not up to that point. Maybe you're wanting to RP through, Northrend, or you're wanting to RP through Pandaria as you're questing and that sort of thing. But you would definitely, I would think, want to at least provide something in your MRP or your TRP3 or what have you that makes people aware of this, so that one, you can attract people that may be interested in role-playing that sort of time frame with you. And also you have people that hopefully will be polite and respectful of that and not run up and just go, no, Varian Rin's dead. It's
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I do think it's important that you would give somebody some indication of that. Otherwise, yes, you would be expected to be. I have just been invited to join a kittens night. No, I don't think so.
Oh, is that ladies?
I don't know, but otherwise, yes. If you don't have any indicator as to what your preference is, and to give people a heads up, then I think you would be generally required to be up to date on what is going on in the current timeline.
Well, I prefer ladies. I don't know about.
Huh?
Oh, for role play.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
Caca, caca.
God,
Okay.
Well, I mean, it
Go
kind
ahead.
of ties into our next topic. She was just talking about how you kind of have to, separate if you're canonical or non-canonical, or however the hell you say that. Role players, because they're kind of like oil
Up on
and
Google,
water.
Canonical.
Okay.
Non-canonical, yes.
People that follow the lore and people that don't follow the lore.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. And
Well, that isn't
The reason-
specifically about following the lore, not following the lore. That's about a timeline issue. But go ahead.
as I was saying, the reason that you should do that is because you really just want to have fun with people. That's like, that's the whole point of roleplay. We want to entertain, But role-playing becomes a problem with other people when uncompromising egos kind of butt heads. And that fun is usually fed through a passive-aggressive meat grinder known as drama.
Now,
And
before we get there, sir, what happens? Let's say we run into as a role player or a guild,
John,
and they
there's
have.
Sencha.
I see you, Sencha. Hi, Sencha. But you run into this Mary Sue type player, or your guild
Yes.
has one of them. How do you help them out?
oh god, it's really hard. It's something that it's one of those things that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
I think a lot probably too depends on where it's coming from. Are they somebody that's simply ignorant of the fact and they're willing to learn and change? Or are they somebody that's dead set, this is the type of character I want to RP and you are not going to talk me out of it?
That's basically what it comes down to, yeah.
Because we ran into this type of role player in a guild I was in, and no matter what happened, I mean, the player had a cure for the plague of the Forsaken. Had a cure for that out in the Western Plainlands. He was shot, but his skin was bulletproof. We found out, and then he was going to carry his infant baby with him into battle because the baby was also, quote unquote, bulletproof. So
Bulletproof babies.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and also the fangs and the claws were made of titanium, and so
All right, well, here's your solution, John. What you need to do
silver bullet.
is no, not that. Yeah, you need to take the role player aside, and because they're going to need help with this. You need to help them load a pistol so they can suck start it.
Wow. Wow.
No, but again, like what I said, it's just one of those things that they're going to be so lost in their denial that you're not gonna get through to them. Sometimes they are just a role player that's really freaking imaginative, and they don't really know about that. They're just ignorant to those kind of unspoken rules. So it's you should probably speak those rules to them. Other than that, though, it's kind of a lost cause.
And if they really disagree with you, it leads to the IC drama.
Yes,
OC drama.
IC and OC drama, yes. And
So again, for us layman folks, OOC stands for out of character, and IC stands for in character.
But ultimately, drama is unavoidable. Someone somewhere is going to make a big stink over nothing, and it's going to they're going to make everyone miserable around them. It's just going to happen. No matter what kind of guild you join, role-playing guild or not, there's going to be drama. Just that's how people are. But it's even worse when it comes to roleplay, because that drama will bleed into the roleplay. Two characters that were totally BFFs before Stacy outruled Brittany on a piece of loot, and now suddenly those characters have beef. That's what I'm essentially getting at. And it's
Hashtag Team Stacy.
Yes. Well, come on. Brittany needed it more than Stacy did.
And it kind of just goes back to what I said last week about keeping your feelings separate from your character, or what I said previously. Also,
Let's be serious, Vlad. You don't have any feelings.
Well, yeah. Why do you?
He
think
has
so?
one, and it's reserved for me, John.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
I mean, like, you just got to kind of, and the way to kind of solve the situation in some regard is like to really examine, at least on a role playing level, is to really examine your character. Are they really mad at Earl Grath the Destroyer? That's Stacy's character, or is the fact that she was hitting on the Guildmaster when you've been made it abundantly clear that he's your man? Like you gotta really analyze your character's feelings and separate them from your own. Now, that's not to say that you should stick it out. Like, if the roleplay is really toxic in your circle of role players, but little problems and disputes can really generally just kind of be shoved to the side, or with practice, I suppose. It's kind of like going to work and you have a job to do, but you and your coworker aren't really getting along, and you just gotta do the job, kind of.
Well, again, this can be really something that I've seen in my years of roleplay and just watching from Turwinkle's point of view. A lot of these guilds, a lot of them implode due to this very problem.
Yes, they do, and it's usually because people can't deal or won't deal with drama, and they don't see the value of the story over their internal beefs.
One of the things that most guilds will say in their recruitment, or when doing the Turwinkle Talks sections also, is one of the big rules that they have is no drama. And so
that's impossible. That's a false statement. That just doesn't exist.
Well, or, they get rid of people that cause the drama. But again, you see a lot of guilds still implode due to that very problem.
Yes. Because you're not going to get rid of your best officer because there's drama going on. See, that's the thing. Like, like, let's say Leila and I started a guild, and,
Oh, what would be the name of that guild?
I don't know. Leila and Vlad forever. Not Turwinkle.
Wow.
Can I join this guild?
No!
Oh. Wow. Just a guild of two. It's not a big
Actually,
guild.
yeah, let's throw in the lug triangle. Let's say you two.
Oh my god.
And Turwinkle's kind of hitting up Vlad, and Layla's getting all jealous. Intrinsically, it's doomed to fail because the core, if we don't, solve the issue that is the OOC issue. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does, yeah. I mean, because you get...
I think something to consider is the fact that IC and OOC drama can mean several different things. And I think something that I'm sure that this will be a larger topic to be discussed at another time.
Yes.
But there is another problem that develops in IC and OOC drama when your character becomes involved with another character, and that does not translate to OOC. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe if the two of you have OOC-ly discussed that, and that's something like, okay, fine. But you don't automatically get to assume anything like that. And I've seen far too many situations where that becomes an issue, that because of the nature of a character relationship does not translate to an OOC relationship. There is a plethora of drama that can come from that, either between the two players, between the players in their guild, just within the guild, things like that. It just exponentially makes things worse if you cannot keep IC and OOC separate. If you do not understand where that line is, whether it's dealing with relationship RP, whether it's dealing with conflict RP, or anything like that, you are going to run into serious problems if you cannot keep in character separate from out of character, and remember that the person that is behind the other character, they are not that character. They may not be the same gender as that character. They may not, their relationship status may be different than their character. All of those sorts of things. You cannot make the assumptions that people are their characters. And because when you start to do that, you just, I can't where to even begin as far as discussing all of the different types of drama and problems that you
Turwinkle
can.
for Trump.
What?
Oh,
What?
God.
Oh God. Oh God.
Oh, jeez.
No, that. Well, I mean, that's a.
Yes, that would be. Yes, actually,
Yeah.
that's a very good example. Like
Yeah.
a political, like your political outlook could also cause drama, especially nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it could even be like something that happened in character, like a dramatic event happened, and someone's miffed because their character wasn't in the spotlight, or their character got shafted, their character got hurt in a certain way they didn't want to, and then they would proceed to take it out on other people, and it kind of bleeds into the realm of they might possibly do things like metagaming or godmodding, or anything else to just kind of get back at somebody. That's when drama really becomes insidious into role playing. That's when it kind of that was what I was kind of talking about before, how it bleeds in there.
Right. Yeah. It just kind of all these things kind of blend together, don't they?
Yeah.
But they don't have to. You just have to be. You have to be mature and aware of these things. And I think that that's what makes all the difference.
Well, we certainly can.
And I
go ahead,
honestly, I think that if you are somebody, you can be mature and aware of these things. And if you get yourself involved with somebody that is not, please get away from that. Like, please don't get yourself involved in individuals that OOCly do not make you feel comfortable. Even at the situation, like if your character is involved with their character, if they are doing something OOC, whispering you or just generally making you uncomfortable, there is, and again, this will be something, probably a larger discussion of retconning and things for down the road. But if you are in a situation where you are not OOCly comfortable as an individual, as your player, then don't stick around. You don't have to be involved in that. There are ways out there. I mean, even if you just, I'm just going to get rid of this character entirely and start something fresh. But, that'll be a discussion for a later time. But don't ever get yourself involved in OOC drama or somebody that is making you feel uncomfortable in an OOC fashion. That's not okay, and that's not acceptable. And you don't need to accept that or put up with it for the sake of your character or anything like that. You have to protect yourself as an individual.
Right, and I think Cogspring and Sencha both say some pretty good stuff here. Cogspring says the drama gets so bad, sometimes they become immature, and then they start name calling. That's so on and so forth. And Sencha also says it gets scary when people start associating their characters as part of themselves. So I think both of those are very, very true statements.
Right, and oh crap! I was going to mention something. I totally brain farted.
You, I'm going to stand over here,
Yep.
then. But we should mosey on down to
Caw.
the blue.
Gonna ease on down the road.
Yeah, he's on down.
Yeah.
He's on down the road. But
God.
no, I again, I've seen it time and again where guild drama, for one reason or another, is kind of one of the biggest guild killers out there. And it's a shame to see, because a lot of times, there's some awesome role play going on, but because one person either A, doesn't like the storyline, or B, like Leila said, it didn't involve them. I remember a player that was constantly, quote unquote, getting kidnapped because they liked the attention that brought them, and it just got annoying to the rest of the guild. It's like, we're not paying the ransom this time. Good luck, and so
Clearly you're incompetent.
yeah. See, clearly you didn't learn from the past 5 times that you got kidnapped. Drama is like blah. Careful, Leila. You don't want to slip there.
Nope. She's totally doing that foot over foot walk across the edge there.
The catwalk.
the catwalk.
Yeah, I'm too sexy for my shirt. But, so, sir, yeah, moving on, we're going to be talking about Godmodding and metagaming next.
John, you cut out.
Oh, yep, moving on, we're going to be talking about Godmodding and metagaming.
Ah, yes, and the difference between them, and how they're basically the same person. Godmodding, the simplest thing I could put it is, like, I suddenly, like, thrust my sword into Turwinkle's head, and he's
God.
dead.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yep, he's dead. Right here. You're dead, John.
But,
Forever dead. You don't
Wow.
get a chance to, to respond at all, ever.
oh,
Because I am the
well,
best
then-
and I am awesome.
all right. Well,
I'm God.
There we go. And I'll just
Oh,
delete
well.
Turwinkle now.
Meanwhile, I rifle through the dead gnome's pocket.
Oh, wow. Here, I thought you were going to heal me, Leila, but
That's essentially what Godmodders are. They will, to a, what's it called, annoying degree, just incessantly spam these kinds of emotes that they are the best, and what they say goes. They essentially railroad the roleplay into what they want the story to be, and by any means, they won't accept defeat, or maybe they will, but they just they want control of the story. Metagamers also want control of the story, but they do it in a different way. They essentially take out of character information and they implement it in character. Like a good example is and they're usually role players that you won't expect them to be a metagamer until you role play with them for a little bit, and until you reveal some information about your character that shouldn't really be known to the other character, but they'll use that. Like, for example, if we'll go back to Ulgrath the Destroyer. He's afraid of spotted mice, and Brittany's character, who is Gore Magic Fist.
just a
So-
second. Just a second, sorry.
uh,
Oh
they,
my God, hold on. No, behind you, and I don't know if you saw this
God.
on the screen. This guy back here told this Worgen, and I quote, "You look like Uther's turd," and unquote. Dear God. Okay.
Oh my! Things are escalating quickly. We should probably continue
okay.
on.
Yeah, we're gonna keep walking. Good Lord. Do continue, sir. Uther's
Okay,
turd.
so an example of metagaming. Ulgrath the Destroyer, he's afraid of spotted mice. And this hasn't been disclosed to anyone. It's like his secret fear. And Gore Magic Fist summons a swarm of conveniently spotted mice.
Oh, lucky guess.
The metagamer. Yeah. That's essentially what it is. Like, and at first it might be what a coincidence. But later on it becomes, they keep doing these kinds of things where they kind of know certain things that are going to happen later on. Like if it's a guild story arc and they're like one of the officers that's building the story, they'll sort of set certain paths ahead of time for the story to take place in that direction, instead of allowing the role play to be totally free form. Again,
Right.
that's up to interpretation. But generally, on a one-on-one basis, if you're doing that to somebody to the degree that you want to be, the one that's controlling the story, and it's not necessarily fair to the other role players.
Right. Now, that's not to say that you can't pre-plan a roleplay with your roleplay partner, correct?
Yes, you can. That's very plausible, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you're letting them in. You are collaborating the story. Whereas with metagaming, you don't let the other person know that you're going to be doing this, or that you're going to exploit this weakness, or you're going to summon the spotted mice. That's where it becomes insidious.
Now, let me ask you guys, how many times have you been role-playing and then all of a sudden someone will do a whisper to you and say, I am now controlling you, I am using a magic on you and you must, listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's
I don't think I've ever experienced that.
Oh God, Leila, it's horrible.
But Well, here's the thing. I would say the majority of the years that I spent role playing have been within a Tauren community, so that's not really something that's prevalent. Like we're not. I don't know. You don't really get too much of that. I mean, as far as those type, you're not dealing with a lot of warlocks and shadow priests and things like that, I guess. So I can't say that I've ever had somebody that has done that to me.
And apparently, Sencha's had it happen once with her guy character. Someone controlled his mind.
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times, and it's annoying because you're like, yeah, I don't think so.
I will again, but that goes back to what you were saying, John, in terms of it's okay if it's something that's pre-established. Because I will state that my Shadow Priest character had a story arc in which several people in the guild that I was in at the time participated in basically this giant dream sequence for one of these characters in which she was the controller of this nightmare sort of play that went on. And it was actually a lot of fun. But again, that was something that, is predetermined, and everybody that wasn't a willing participant in what their role was to be in this sequence of events and things like that. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I do see that from time to time that individuals will have that, in their RP profile that say, this is what I like to do with my character. She, likes to read minds, or she's this or that as far as mind games or that sort of thing. But generally I would say that the individuals where I see that listed in their RP profile, they do welcome people, whisper me for more information if you'd like to get involved in this, or you'd like to participate in that type of role play. So again, I mean, it's perfectly fine so long as you make people aware and they are willing participants in it. I mean, I think that that's true for any type of role play.
Yep.
But that's one of those things that you cannot just randomly walk up to somebody and do and expect it to go well. You're probably going to get a lot of negative reaction to that.
The best way to handle those people is just like Sencha just said in chat, because apparently after her character got mind controlled, he was forced to fall for some demon succubus. Okay, and Sencha did the right thing. She noped out of there. Like that's exactly what you gotta do. Like you just say nope, not happening. I don't care. You just gotta tell the person. You gotta confront them out of character. Be like, look, this is not happening because this is my character. You don't have control over it, so get over it.
I can share a story if you'd like about Taninus.
Please.
My warrior. He was kind of a happy-go-lucky guy, and he might have been looking for his lady Cadence like Galahad had, and met a nice gal. She seemed really nice, and we wanted to go to a nice dinner, and so we were having a nice dinner at the Lakeshire Inn out there. There's a nice little restaurant there that you can role play at, and then she said that she was like a dominatrix and was going to put a collar on me and stuff. I was like, nope, nope, and I'm out. I did a little tap dance off the stage.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I had Oh, go ahead. Are you done?
No, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this is back when I was younger. I don't know why I'm not listing my good role-playing experiences. Okay, whatever. I guess we'll do that next week.
Because they're not as amusing to the rest of us.
That's right, lad.
Yeah. I was role-playing a mage, and it was at Goldshire. Oh my god.
There's your first clue, sir.
Yeah, and well, no, it actually was nothing sexual. Like he was like on a date. Like this is just a courting date, and he was taking
Leila,
this
what
lady
did you do?
Oh, I don't know. What did she do?
Oh, was she not your date?
Oh no, she wasn't. Oh god, I'm an idiot. No, it wasn't Leila. It was just some other person, and I took him down to that, the little pond, or the pond behind the Goldshire Inn, and we were talking, and then this paladin and this rogue come up out of nowhere, and it was like a rape was going on. Like,
God.
yeah, like
Whoa!
literally,
Wow.
I
like,
just jumped
they-
out of my chair. Sorry.
like the paladin was sitting there watching and laughing, while this rogue was godmodding me and like trying to like basically subdue me so he could rape my girlfriend
Oh
in
God.
front of me. Yeah, like that's like what was happening, and I, I tried to be a good sport. This is again before I was experienced enough and knowing I should have just been like, no, fuck you. But I was trying to be a good sport, and I was role playing with him, and he was just being a godmodder. He like my mage lit him on fire, and he laughed through the pain. And
Oh, come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Come on.
Like, oh, okay, cool. He's he's a masochist and a sadist. Oh, how original! And he's not affected by fire. And
Right. I mean,
and yeah,
And I would just like to include this public service announcement that you're probably not going to find the world's greatest RPers while you're around Goldshire on any server.
that was the last time I role played in Goldshire. And also, I learned a lesson that day because I kind of learned like you can't just let your egos, like you gotta be a good sport, essentially, about your role play.
well, I guess
And
that,
not
hold
all
on.
the time. That's not always the case.
Well, I mean, for me, one of the hardest things for me to do is, and I don't know if this is for all role players, but for me, the hardest thing for me to do is because I like my character. I don't want to, of course, I don't want to see him get hurt, but I also don't want to be that metagamer. So balancing the two, like in combat, of course you're gonna get hit, but how hard are you gonna get hit? And so for me, it's always hard to kind of balance, not wanting to die, but wanting to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah, and again, combat is something we should talk about later on. But to just briefly go over on my views of combat, it should definitely almost always be done with somebody you trust. Either somebody you trust or someone that you have kind of worked out what's going to happen beforehand. Like, take a few minutes,
Yeah,
talk to them about it, and
because
then go.
I think this is where you see the most god modding happen is when you're fighting someone.
Right, and there's like borderline god modding too that goes on. Because some people don't want to be a god modder. There are guys there are people that are aware of that you shouldn't be a god modder, but they do borderline it by dodging, just barely dodging, or they'll take a hit, so they can make an excuse for like a death blow kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like they'll take the hit to the shoulder so they can stab the guy in the face. It's and that's just they'll do small things like that to kind of justify their god modding when that's not appropriate.
Well, I think, and the biggest thing when it comes to role playing, trying to again walk that line, one of the things that really is important is how you word your emotes and things. Instead of saying I stab Vlad, you want to say I would attempt to stab Vlad, and allow Vlad to answer that with he's surprised and gets hit, or his cat-like reflexes is able to deflect the blow, and so again, you're not forcing your action upon that other character, but you're indicating what you're attempting to do instead of what actually happens, I guess I should say.
And there's several different ways to kind of like solve RP combat, but they are, again, they should be predetermined. Like, and I agree with some. Like, I agree with just about every type. Role combat, just free form emoting combat. That's cool. I'm even okay with dueling. I think that is still a valid way because there are role players that level in the game and they are like, they may not be like Leila said, and they don't take every quest seriously. Like, I wasn't the druid that was killing animals for Garrosh Hellscream, but they level their character's power is equivalent to their level, so their items and trinkets and things that they collect in game is applicable to their role playing character, and you know what? I think that's valid, but I don't think it's right to force another role player to duel you in an actual like / duel kind of thing. It's not appropriate. What is appropriate is to work out the story, because that's what, again, this is a cooperative kind of art. You don't it's not one person writing it. It's, several. If you want it to just be one person writing it, just write a book then. Like, seriously.
Go ahead, Leila.
Oh no, I was just taking screenshots. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, but
No, but I will say that
go
I
ahead.
think that just for for future reference, that the idea of combat roleplay will no doubt be a show in and of itself for the future to discuss the different types of combat roleplay and preferences and all that good stuff. So
That's right. You'll get to see me kick Vlad's butt.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, and so be ready for that, folks.
Let's see. Is there anything else we didn't cover about godmodding, roleplay, godmodders and
Well,
stuff?
I think again, your wording applies to all types of roleplay. Whether you're, I would walk up and Turwinkle kisses, Desiree, or and so again, you'd want to say
you're gonna get
Turwinkle
punched
would,
in the face by Vlad.
Yep.
Turwinkle would attempt to kiss her.
Well, no, he'd first ask, is he paying? And then yes, and then he'd punch her.
Wow. Wow. But you know what I'm saying, though. It doesn't necessarily apply to just combat as well. I mean, it can apply to all.
I think
all
that
walks of roleplay.
that god modding goes right along with everything. I mean, any other category, anything you want to talk about roleplay, that it all comes down to courtesy and respect of the people that are around you and the people that you are engaging in roleplay or that will be involved in your roleplay. That courtesy and respect are like top notch over all categories. They're things that need to be considered. And not only that you need to display courtesy and respect, but hopefully everyone will be courteous and respectful to you in turn.
That is, yes, that's a perfect way of putting it. This kind of art form is all about respecting another. You will always have successful role play, almost always, if you find another respectful person and you're respectful to them. That's.
And by not
exactly.
engaging in things such as having a Mary Sue character or getting involved in ICOC drama, all of those sorts of things, all of what we've talked about tonight will help you avoid attracting those similar types of individuals. If you are, wanting to find somebody that is courteous and respectful to you, you need to have a character that shows that you are courteous and respectful. And by participating in things like god modding or metagaming and power emoting and things like that, you're not presenting that to somebody. So you in turn are going to actually be alienating yourself from the individuals that would give you positive, beneficial role play that you would want to be involved in.
Right. And I think I don't like your attitude. I'm going to go tell my mom Sylvanas. So, yeah.
We're done here.
That's it. For the fort.
All right. So I believe we got some questions from Sencha and Cogspring. Turwinkle and I do not know what this question is.
Completely in the dark.
Yeah, we
Leila
don't
wouldn't
know.
let me look.
Yep, I couldn't look either. I got a black eye for it.
Wow. Wow.
Well, Cogspring wanted to express a concern over something that he has seen in people's MRP or TRP3 profiles and kind of wanted to get your opinion on it. And he says, I noticed that on some RP profiles, they say they hate ninja logging. And while I don't blame them for it, it's not fair to blame people just for that. They may have a legit reason for suddenly disappearing due to, say, a power outage or a computer shutdown to virus. So how would you necessarily know whether somebody is actually ninja logging, or, do you think that you should give them a second chance, or should they whisper you maybe when they come back online, hey, like, I'm really sorry if that happened to you? Maybe you should say, whisper the person, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to just disappear. My computer shut down or we had a power outage. You could explain the situation to them. And, hopefully they would be understanding of that and still want to continue. Then you can just pick it up, wherever you had left off. But I think maybe some people probably do get pretty upset about that, and maybe those people are not who you want to be role playing with to begin with if they're going to be that dramatic about things. But yeah, like Cogspring is saying that sometimes things like that do happen that are out of the realm of control. Like, obviously we are we are role playing in an online video game. Power outages happen. You lose your internet. You
Your
know,
mom
the game
catches you
itself-
role playing.
Yeah. Your mom catches you with crazy blades. Or even just like when if the servers go down, things like that. And, you know, maybe, you know, Jimmy Joe didn't have a chance to hang around until the servers came back up, and didn't mean to ditch you, but I think there's a certain amount of, you know,
Well, I think
understanding that has to go along with that.
sure. I think if it only happened once, there shouldn't be an issue. But if it's a thing that consistently happens, then I think
Yeah.
you need to address that, especially if it's your role play partner, and you know you're trying to get a role play scene done, but they're constantly either walking away from the
Yeah.
computer or you know, and
Yeah, that's
this
just
is a
bad
constant
takes.
problem. Then that's something you need to sit down and say, hey, listen.
And again, it goes back to being respectful.
and
If you're
just-
role playing with somebody and it's, you know, maybe you don't have the time for it or whatever. I mean, I think that, at least for me personally, anytime where I've been aware, like if I needed to go to work or, you know, what have you, if I knew something was coming up and I was going to have to log off, you know, I would let the person know ahead of time as much as I could. Like, hey, I've probably only got about a half hour and I'm going to have to leave. And, you know, maybe they could just, oh, well, maybe now's not the time to role play. I don't have very much time. That's one of those OOC dialogues that is important, especially when you have someone that you're participating in long-term RP with, that, you know, you need to be respectful of that and let them know what's going on OOC, and not just be like, oh, hey, I got to go to work now. Bye.
yeah, or there's
the last minute, because-
BG's here.
Yeah, my dungeon popped. I
Dungeon
gotta
pop,
go.
gotta go.
I mean, I guess that's fine if you're participating in just completely random walk-up role play that you don't expect to go anywhere and you just want to get out of. I mean, okay, maybe, like, I still don't think that's cool, but you know, whatever. I guess if you're not investing a whole lot, but the more time that you invest with another
God,
player,
this Crazy Blades won't shut up. I gotta.
but the more time you invest with somebody in terms of being a long-term RP partner, you really need to express those types of courtesies and knowing, you know, hey, I've only got so much time, or, you know, I'm going to have to go to work soon. Maybe now's not the time to get started in role play and things like that. But having that OOC dialogue and being open with one another about what your schedules are is definitely important.
What do you say, Vlad?
Oh, what is there to say? I think, honestly, if they're gonna post that on their profile, I think they have thin skin already, and that they can't deal with accidents. Normally, people log out because, you know, something like Cogspring brought up. They just log out because something happened. And it's probably happened to them too many times. So maybe they were actually an annoying person. But anyways, I'm not going to analyze that one individual. I think it's fair to expect, like Leila was saying, a certain amount of courtesy from a person you're role playing with. But you know, accidents do happen. Power outages happen, and I think it's just appropriate. Like if you're out for, like, you know, unwillingly out of, you know, commission for like an hour or even more longer, you know, you can log back in and see if they're on. Then just write. I write in-game mail because that's happened to me before. I'll write, hey, I really liked our role play. I would like to get back in touch with you. You know.
And I meant to
Here's-
reply to that, you know, but I'll reply to that as soon as I can.
Yeah. See, and then what's funny is I've done that every time I've done it. I
You've
haven't
received
gotten...
mail from Crazy Blades.
Oh God! Oh God!
Want some fuck? Like, I just
Wow!
that's-
Wow! Good Lord!
What? But no, that would be a. It's funny though, when I did send mail to follow up RP, they never reply. They've never replied. So maybe that is because they got miffed that, you know, suddenly locked off. So it's you got to be kind of understanding, especially when you're first, you know, establishing a role playing relationship. Of any kind.
I think Dre says it perfectly. Just set proper expectations. You know, again, go in, and if you're planning on doing a role play either with a guild that's really into the heavy role play, or your role play partner really wants a heavy role play, set the expectations. Get to know what the expectations are. If you can't do it, don't commit to it. Say, that's just, I'm not really looking for more of a medium or light role player. But again, knowing what's expected, not only of yourself, but other folks. And again, if you're not meeting the expectation, then don't expect that roleplay story to keep coming to you, or that roleplay partner not to go, you know what, we're kind of done. I'm going to go actually roleplay with someone who's going to roleplay with me.
Right. That's a...
Again, it's about being courteous and respectful. And part of being respectful is understanding that, as much as you are interested in somebody's character, I mean, that's still somebody that has real life situations that you know nothing about. And, you just kind of have to sometimes accept and dismiss that for what it is, because ultimately you don't know what's going on behind the screen. You don't know why they suddenly disappeared. Maybe they did just ninja log and they're just rude like that, and I don't know who raised them, but
yeah.
Not gonna RP with you anymore, sir. You're rude.
Hopefully
Who raised you?
Hopefully that answers Cog Spring's question.
Right. So what's Sencha's?
All right. So Sencha writes, "How far is too far in World of Warcraft? I keep hearing about gray areas in WoW and being able to RP within them, but where is the line drawn? To elaborate, gray areas in WoW I've seen were with characters who were Scarlets, desert humans, the Tenari, dragons and dragonkin in humanoid form, etc. I've seen these themed characters played out before, but are they lore compliant? And what is the community's take on them? I know this is a heavy subject, might be a good one to cover maybe down the road in greater detail, but I've always been curious. I remember keeping up with it in the forums on Wormrest Accord, and much of these gray areas are either taken with a grain of salt or they're just hated. But what's your take on them?"
Ooh, I automatically love the idea of the desert people, the Tenari. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I agree with that one. The idea, I suppose it comes down to how do you roleplay? Are you a public role player? Are you the one that you're always out in public? Because if you are, being a Scarlet, they're a dime a dozen. Like, especially like before, I think it was around Wrath of the Lich King, that there were so many Scarlet guilds, and they're still out today. You got to be aware of that. On the other hand, if you have a small role-playing group that you just kind of get together and do it, that's perfectly fine. I think gray areas are more accommodating to smaller groups, and allows you to be more creative. Not to say that you have to be a cookie cutter human or
military guild.
Yeah, or whatever. You don't have to.
There's anything wrong with that.
No, again, there's nothing. I actually kind of like cookie cutter characters, but I add my own flair to them. It gives them a sense of normalcy, but with my own little twist on their character. But it's not like they're secretly a dragon or something like that. So I suppose to answer the question, how far is too far? I would say that it's. I hate this answer. I hate giving it, but this is a answer it's kind of goes with who you're role playing with. It's.
There's a giant Yeti on the staircase.
Oh my god!
Oh god! What the
what?
Good lord, guys, don't be alarmed. Just ignore the Yeti on the staircase. He's just looking around, wiggling his toes.
But yeah, essentially, it's up to the role players.
Yeti RP. Cacao.
I think it's again. That would be my answer, and I'm sorry, it's very vague, but that's really the best answer. It's your interpretation of it. Are you okay with them working within those gray areas? Because technically, they can be those things because they are in lore. But what can you do? I think I err on the side of if you're going to be a public role player, shy away from those kind of characters. And if you're going to be in a circle of friends, go ahead and go crazy, as long as they're okay with it.
Leila, what do you think?
I agree with a lot of what Vlad said in terms of, I think that it has a lot to do with their open participation with the rest of the server. I've seen a lot of guilds where they will take up these types of gray area sorts, the Tanari, for example, but they are very self-contained in that they are not trying to force themselves upon the server. They are not trying to establish themselves as being proper lore-abiding storylines. I think that many of those guilds often will say on their website, like, we understand that this is something that's not necessarily prevalent in, you know, the Warcraft lore or within the game, but this is something that we've come up with on our own. And I think that that's amazing. As long as you're not trying to force it on anybody, because when you start crossing that line is when, you know, that's when I have problems with it. You know, I've always been an advocate of, if you want to RP the sparkly vampire dragon, I have absolutely no problem with that if you can find individuals that are interested in that type of role play. And if you all want to get together, you know, outside of, you know, a public forum where you're not like openly walking around Stormwind and that sort of thing, I have no problem with it. And I think that there's, you know, nothing wrong with anything that sort, as long as you're not trying to force it on the general population, because the general population is probably not going to accept it. All you're going to do is cause a lot of drama. All you're going to do is cause problems for yourself. You're going to get yourself ostracized and, you know, all that. Like, nobody wants any of that. So if you're operating in a gray area, whether it's just you as an individual or it's as a guild, that sort of thing, you know, I think that it's important to remember that maybe the majority of the server isn't going to go along with it. And that's fine. They don't have to participate in that. But at the same time, you have to be respectful that they are not interested in it. And you cannot force it upon them. I think also another thing that kind of goes into this kind of topic is the fact that there are a lot of gray areas in lore simply because Blizzard themselves has not said anything about them. I think that, you know, for the argument of saying that this doesn't exist in lore, you can't do that. It's kind of like, yeah, but there's nothing that says I can't. There may not be any lore about it, but there's also no lore against it. So, you know, you can operate in that sort of gray area. I've done so with a couple of my Tauren characters because of the fact that there is very, very little lore written about the Tauren tribes. But the problem with that comes about that a lot of people don't want to accept is when Blizzard does come around to actually maybe implementing lore about that certain situation or about that area of the world or that sort of thing. You're kind of forced with, okay,
Yep, Scarlet Conclave, right there.
How do you accept that now there is lore about that? A good example for this would be individuals that back during Mists of Pandaria, there were individuals that, to go along with the whole, you know, we're RPing dragons idea, which again, nothing wrong with it if you're, you know, not forcing it on anybody. You run into the problem of specifically black dragons. And at the time when Wrathion was first introduced to Mists of Pandaria, he was introduced as the only black dragon that was neither dead nor insane. And in order to go along with things like that, to be lore abiding in those respects, then what do you do in terms of that? Are you now you're even a more special snowflake if you're trying to be a black dragon than you were to begin with, or it's a situation where you have to adhere to that kind of lore. So I think the gray area poses a lot of problems like that when Blizzard does finally decide to implement lore about your situation that would directly affect. But again, I mean, if you're operating in a gray area and you're not hurting anyone, you're not forcing it on anybody, you're being respectful of other people and being respectful of the fact that other role players are not interested in that and that that's okay too. I can't say that I have any problem with it. And oftentimes, like with the Tanari guilds, for example, I've seen amazing, amazing creativity and depth and detail go into those characters and into those guilds because they are operating in that gray area, because they don't have Blizzard detailing out everything that they should know about their characters. They've really come up with some great guilds that way.
Yeah, I have to agree. And again, I've seen a lot of guilds, and some have done some really, really creative stuff within the box that Blizzard has provided people to play in. And I think what's great about the gray areas is when people kind of explore those areas, is they kind of flesh out the world of Warcraft, basically. They make it more alive. And so, say you go into Feralis and you find a tribe that's living there, that people are role-playing a tribe that's from Feralis. And, they are from a little village there that they've kind of made in that area and have a great little role-play spot that they get together in. And to me, that really makes it Feralis even more exciting rather than just the quests that are within it. And people have taken the opportunity to, say, quote unquote, role play within that and made their own storyline just in that one area. I love the idea, and again, this just came up tonight, and the first time I've heard of it, the desert people, the Tanari, out in Tanaris, and I think that's such a great idea. I'd love to see a guild do that. And again, there are some folks that kind of go even further outside the box, like the Cannibal Dwarves. Flomy and Gloomy, the kind of a darker role play, and it was just for them, and they just had a blast with it. It was hilarious, and I loved it. But it wasn't, of course it wasn't obviously lore, but, it was something that they enjoyed doing together, and some of the other guilds were kind of in on it a little bit, and so it was fun. And so, again, I think it all boils down to, are you having fun with it, with the people that you're role-playing with? And, you're not impeding on anybody else's fun. And so I think that's what makes World of Warcraft such a great, especially the role-play community in the World of Warcraft. It's such a great community, and it's so big and vast with so many different ideas. And I've said it time and again, if people wrote down their stories that they've written for their characters and all the stuff they've gone through within the game with their characters, they would be great books, some wonderful novels that you could come out with these wonderful stories, Crazy Blades, the crazy adventures of Crazy Blades. But
Don't encourage him, John.
Yeah, it's just, but, so working within the gray confines, I think is what makes it interesting. If we were all just, that cookie cutter, I am a Stormwind Knight, and again, nothing wrong with that, but, and I just patrol the streets. And, there's some great guard guilds that do just that, but they focus in on that one part of the story. But some folks that explore different ideas within the confines, or within the box, and some of those gray areas that aren't discussed, they come up with some really great ideas and some things that Blizzard sometimes takes notice of. Demon Hunters, for a long time, Demon Hunters, even though it was in the lore and whatnot, but really wasn't any main character in the lore. Am I right, Leila? It just was kind of a background thing.
Demon Hunters existed, but the problem, when we're talking years back, obviously not now that they are an actual class in the game, but prior to that, for a number of years, Demon Hunters were a very Mary Sue-ish type area, in that the way that Demon Hunters were understood, or what was understood, which wasn't a whole lot back then, was the fact that you wouldn't just simply be walking around Stormwind. You wouldn't be walking around anywhere. You'd probably be in the back of some deep, dark cave trying to scratch your skin off. No, honestly, that's kind of the torment that they, were understood to be going through. And, you didn't have a demon hunter that, was out, trying to do anything really, productive in terms of, what a priest or a warrior would be doing for the military, things like that. But again, that was something where, Blizzard came along and really helped to add a lot of context to the characters, really flesh them out and help them. But even then, I mean, they've only done it so far as the Illidari demon hunters. There are other demon hunters that are not Illidari, that are less fleshed out, that do still fall into that gray area. But again, it's just a matter of making certain that you know your limits and you are respectful. As much as you want people to accept your character, you have to understand the reasons that they may not, and you have to be okay with the fact that not everybody's going to accept your character, and you have to find the individuals that do and are interested in that type of role play, and not just, begrudgingly interfere with those that aren't interested in that.
Right. And one last thing I'd like to throw in there on this is that, for example, some of the greatest role play that I see is the folks that they put together like a guild fair or something along those lines within the game. Now, of course you got the Dark Moon Fair, but, they set up little stalls that they role play from and little trinkets and stuff that they've made with their guild, and whether they use GHI or TRP3 to actually have actual items. For a lot of the time they don't, and you just have to use your imagination as you're role playing, and so stuff like that, while is gray, in-game events is a great way that a lot of guilds utilize, kind of either utilizing, say, in-game holidays or holidays they've made for themselves. Weddings in the game is another great example of kind of a gray area. What kind of wedding does, the gnomes have? Is this a different type of scenario? And so people come up with different customs for the Jaheen. For the Draenei. The Draenei, yeah. A great example of something that somebody thought, hey, this is what I think the Draenei would do. And so they made an event with that. And so some of these things, Blizzard,
which led to it actually being put in the game.
Okay, like the gnome run, that's something like that, that actually ends up being in the game. And so I think a lot of these gray areas or things that aren't physically in the game that us role players have imagined, some of that stuff comes to life and is incorporated into the lore. So I think that's pretty cool.
Most definitely. I think that's about it. Is there anything
Good
else?
talk, guys. Good talk.
Good talk. I hope you guys
right.
learned something.
If you didn't, send Vlad your complaints.
Yeah, all complaints go
He's
to
our
Vlad.
complaint department.
Yeah. And he's got a little spherical
Every reply will
box
just
that
be
he
get
puts.
good.
Yeah, he puts it in, and then he lights that
But yeah,
box on
that's for the roleplay this weekend.
fire. Wow. So
Any closing comments, Turwinkle?
get good, and I can't wait for the dueling.
John.
Yeah. I forgot. I changed my thing to push to talk, so
okay.
might try to avoid some of the pause for
Pause for dog.
pause for dogs. So, I think this is a great, and we're definitely going to probably come back to this several points on this because it's such a big topic. Drama is such a big thing, and which leads into the romance where you role play, where you find a lot of that drama. Especially the OOC and the IC.
It's intense.
So a lot of that, we'll definitely come back to it. But I think we've covered a really good thing that people should try to avoid a little bit in their role play. And hopefully we've given them some good tips and tricks tonight to help them to either recognize that either in themselves or the people that they're role playing with, and some ways to help them role play better.
And next week we'll be talking about how to be a good role player, or what are the qualities of a good role player.
I thought we were doing warlocks, sir. Isn't it? Wasn't it warlocks?
Why are you trying to force warlocks on us, John?
I just thought, warlocks.
Are you secretly a warlock, sir?
John's a dreadlord.
Oh, good lord. They were
Confirmed.
on to me. Oh, good lord. Run.
Wow, you're not running at all, John.
No.
He's doing the best he can.
Yeah, I got little legs, Leila. It might not look like I'm running, but I am. Thanks to everybody joining us tonight. We've got Cogspring, Sentia, Dre, Lenomi said very creative way to have a Twitch show. Well done. So thank you very much for that. And of course, Raz is here. Hi, Raz. And so thanks everybody for joining us tonight. And if you have a friend that loves role play, have them join us here. We'd love to hear from them. And you can follow us where, Leila? Where can people find us?
Well, they can find us here on twitch.tv/fortheroleplay. They can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/fortheroleplay. Through Twitter, you can have easy access to links to our YouTube channel, where we'll upload all of these these VODs that we do here on Twitch, as well as eventually getting some supplemental videos are in the works to come up on the YouTubes. Or you can email us at ftrpcast@gmail.com. Lots of ways to get in contact with us. And the three of us each have our own individual Twitter accounts, which you can find. And Turwinkle is so awesome. Someone just ran through saying, and he is very awesome.
Oh, that's Dre.
Oh, hey, Dre.
Dre Fusano.
Hey, Dre.
Fusano.
But yeah,
Just
certainly, yeah, let them
But yes, if you're interested, you can check out the twitter.com/fortheroleplay. And on there in the info section, it has links to each of our individual Twitter accounts if you're interested in that as well.
All right, so there you go,
Please
folks.
tell your friends. We want to.
Oh yeah, the more
our
the merrier.
Influence like the Black Plague or the Scourge or whatever.
Well, it certainly opens up more conversation about
Just
roleplay.
tell people about us. We want to spread our knowledge everywhere.
That's right. We want as many people in here having conversations about roleplay that we can, because we know we have such a great community, and so certainly, follow us.
We do also have direct messaging is open on Twitter, so everyone is free to send us a message, questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to share with us.
Or even you could suggest a poll. That'd be pretty interesting if you like, how many people like to role play in this area or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the Blue Recluse is hopping tonight. It always is kind of a big hub here.
I miss the Yeti. That was the
There's
best.
a George down there.
Adrenaline
George is
ran
down there.
off.
He's enjoying some fine reading, it looks like. But thank you again, guys, and we certainly appreciate having everybody here tonight. And so from us here at For the Roleplay, have a good night, guys. We'll see you next Saturday.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.